Hi guys, well this week's topic for Growing Our Kids is how to choose a daycare centre, or in Australia we have family daycare and variations of those. So I actually haven't had any experience in this because none of my children have been in daycare. I've been very, very lucky being a stay-at-home mum for almost 11 years. I have had periods of working, but we've arranged it so that somebody else has been here to mind the kids. So I haven't actually had to put my children into daycare. So I don't know firsthand how to choose a daycare centre, but I did the year before school started for the kids, and actually 2 years before for Harry because he was our first and only child at that stage. I did look into preschools and daycare, especially with Matilda, I suppose. With the other two, I put them in preschool. They went to preschool for 2 days a week before they went to school, just to get them ready to go to school. With Matilda, I had a choice of putting her 2 days into long daycare or 2 days into the same preschool as the boys had been in. So what I looked at was the differences between daycare and preschool mainly are that daycare runs from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. It is for children 0 to 5 years, and preschool is for children 3 to 5 years, so the 2 years before they go to big school or kindergarten in Australia. And it runs from 9 to 3:15. It's a more structured school day, so they get there at 9 and you have to pick them up 3:15, which isn't always suitable for people who are working full time. The other big thing with the two differences between them is that in Australia we have a childcare rebate. I don't know a lot about it because I've never had to claim it, but the federal government gives parents money to help them put their child into daycare when they have to work. So with the childcare rebate, if I put Matilda 2 days at daycare, it would have cost me $440 per term, which is 10 weeks. Putting her into preschool, where there is no childcare rebate, was going to cost me $720 per term, which is the 10 weeks of the school term. So that was a big thing that I looked at, and I went to the daycare centre and I got all the information and I had a look at the rooms, but in the end I felt that the boys had both been to this preschool that I'd chosen, and I think it's really, really good preschool, and I decided that it wasn't fair that she didn't get to go to the same place because of money. So my mother-in-law actually helped us out with paying for it, and so she went to preschool. So I don't know a lot about daycares as far as choosing one, but I did get some information from a friend on how she chose her daycare centre. So what the main thing that she said was important was word of mouth. She talked to other mothers who had children at the daycare centres, and to find out how good the carers are, how many children there are per carer, if they provided meals, if how they went with, if a child had an accident or if they were still in nappies. The other thing that she did was she dropped into the childcare centre at different times during the day. She dropped in to the same centre many times, and at different times unexpected, so that she could see exactly what was happening at those times, and they didn't get a chance to prepare anyone for it. So she looked at cleanliness. She's a big clean freak, so she things had to be to her standards, and the friendliness of the carers. She got to talk to the carers and also talk about the programs that the daycare centres run. So that was what she did. And then I also talked to another friend who has a child in family daycare. She has 2 children in family daycare. And her pros for family daycare were that in long daycare centres, they have different rooms for different ages. She still wanted her children to be together, even though that they were in the different age groups. So in a family daycare setting, it's 4 children per carer. So 2 of her children were with the carer, and there were 2 other children. And so she liked the idea that they were both together and being looked after by the same people. One of the things that she also liked about it was that family daycare, you pay by the hour instead of by the term. And if she, if she only put her child in the family daycare for 5 hours, she only paid for 5 hours. Whereas if you put them in at the long daycare, you pay for an 8-hour stretch, and it's a set amount, whether they're there for 8 hours or 5 hours. So she really liked that. One of the biggest cons for the family daycare was that if the carer was sick, they had to make other arrangements. There's an occasional daycare in the mountains that she would use on those occasions, but she often had days off work to stay home with them when the carers were sick. So one of the biggest things with that is that if the carer's sick, there's no one else to take over, whereas in long daycare, they've got other people that can fill in the spot for that time. Another friend of mine also is involved in a community cooperative daycare. So it's a parent-run daycare centre. So one of the biggest things that she liked about this one was that the carer, once the child was out of one age group and into another, they didn't switch carers. That carer pretty much stayed with that group until they left to go to school. So there was more, familiarity with the carer, which was similar to a family daycare, but it was still run in a larger setting with lots of carers, and there were still other carers to come in and take over if need be. So like I said, I've never had to really make the decision to put my child in daycare. I know that my friend who had her son in the long daycare centre had issues when there was a changeover of the centre, like the centre changed from one hand to another, like, new owners came in and they changed it around and she didn't like it, so she moved to another daycare centre, and she said that one was really bad and she hated it. So she's since moved back to the old one, and she's happy with that. So I think it's really important to get a really good view of the centre, talk to other mums who have had children at the centre or have children at the centre, and make as many visits as you need to make sure that that's the right place and the safe place to send your child. So I hope this helped. I hope that you can get some good tips from any of the other ladies about this, and I'll see you next week. Bye.